Hi, in this video, I would like to talk about how to leverage bulk V2 from Salesforce to expedite the Salesforce data loads. Common business problems. So whenever we create a sandbox, developer sandbox and developer pro sandboxes, Salesforce doesn't give any data. So we need to create some data by ourselves. And especially when we're loading data, we might want to load the data, referential data. So let's say if we create accounts, we want to create cases with reference to that account. And potentially sometimes we need to extract the account IDs, then we need to use that for contacts and opportunities and etc. The huge volumes are always a problem with Salesforce. I mean, if we don't plan properly, especially at the time of archiving, purging, and we might run into some locking issues, how to chunk the big files into small files and those things, and retry mechanism whenever there are some locking issues happens, and the in general slower performance. Whenever we run into locking issues, it will retry multiple times, and we will see slower performance. So to address some of these, I try to use some automations using Python scripts and shell scripts. Python script I used for creating some fake data for loading into sandboxes, and bulk V2 I used to load the data, query data into even delete records into Salesforce. So basically, bulk V2 automatically uses parallel processing, which is by default. Basically, it run and the leverages external IDs. We can pass those, and shell scripts. I used it for extract, delete, and load data. Shell script I used Salesforce CLI commands to get the access tokens instance URL, and the JQ to parse the JSON, and call commands to make Salesforce API calls with that access token and instance URLs. And whenever we have large query results, that's where we need to use query locator to get the next set of results. So let's see the sandbox seeding and query data, how we can do, and also how to load the data into Salesforce as part of demos. So yeah, so let's make sure there are no accounts or contacts with the CD as an external ID. So basically, I created a custom field with the external ID as and whenever I load the data, my script will load the data for that external ID starting with CD. So I don't have any accounts, and I don't have any cases with accounts that starts with CD as external ID. I'm going to use this sandbox seeding shell script. And so all it does, I mean, let me first run it and I will explain what it is doing. Here, sandbox seeding. I run this guy, and it is going to generate those accounts first, these guys, and then it is going to submit those two files to Salesforce Org. So how it is doing? So I mean the Python script here. So basically, it is using this faker to create fake street and fake company names and fake zip codes and etc. And I'm trying to create this header for this external ID field, and I'm creating, this is where I'm using that CD. And so I'm saying, so this has to follow certain format. And then I'm loading that data, uploading to local file system here under data directory. And so that's why this test account file is generated. And then cases, similar thing. Basically, I'm using the faker again, and this time, and I want certain statuses. That's why I'm using this statuses thing. and using that one, basically it will randomly pick some status and it will assign to those cases. And for the accounts that are generated, I'm looping through and creating those cases for each and every account. Now let's look at Salesforce once. So here it submitted the bulk jobs. Yeah, so it is successfully able to create 100 accounts and 500 contacts, cases. Now let's see how, that is the first part it generated that we looked into, and how it is submitting data into Salesforce. That is this trigger bulk V2 jobs shell script, and it is taking a few arguments, and what is the target arg, and what is the object, what operation that we are trying to do, and what is the external ID, and what is the file pattern that we want to follow. And so here we set the test accounts, and that's why it is looking at only test accounts. And for this case object and test case underscore one. So now, to go into the shell script, I have this utility thing that basically creates the bulk jobs and upload data and close the thing. So basically, I created the job separately, and I'm using this whenever I need, basically. And this is where I'm doing that argument parsing. And so basically, if it is operation upset, so I want to make sure there is external ID specified. Things, some basic validations I'm doing. And then, so if at all some required parameters are not passing, basically I'm throwing some errors, exiting the program. So this is where I'm using Salesforce CLI command. I already authenticated a few args, and I'm using the DC demo arg to load the data into. So basically that's what I'm getting the arg details, and from there I'm getting the access tokens using JQ by parsing the JSON response. And once I have that, basically I'm using that access token in the auth header, and I can use it to submit for this job. And so whatever the arguments that I passed, I'm using into that object name, operation, and external ID, if at all that is passed, and that will create the job. And this one will upload the file, basically whatever the file that we are going to use it. So this is where I'm expecting some files here. Here in this case, I have only one file with this pattern, test account one. That is this guy, test account one. And so that submits that guy, and create those accounts. And same thing for cases. So that's that sandbox reading here. So let's look at the arc. We already saw it generated, and now basically we can see the accounts. Same thing here. Cases are also here. So that's how we can see the sandboxes. All we have to do is as long as someone has this shell script, and they just need to run this shell script, and it creates account in local, and it pushes those accounts to the arg, provided the arg is already authenticated. Otherwise, we may have to add some more curl commands to authenticate first and then get the access token. So that's the sandbox seeding. Next, another script here, retrieve Salesforce records. And again, so same thing. So if I have to fire a query, so here I'm saying, so hey, I'm invoking this shell script with passing these parameters. My query is, I can pass query whatever I want. If I want another object, another things, I can easily do that. And it is going to generate the files with that format. So run this thing, and basically it is going to retrieve those files. And here I'm saying, so I want a maximum of 100 records in each file. So let me run this thing. While it is running, we can look into the shell script in a bit, but before that, let's go make sure the job is here. I mean, we are seeing the job ID there. So this is where basically, since I asked 250,000, it already got me these extracts. And so if you see here, basically it generated that 250,000, 100,000, and then those 50,000. So basically we got all those extracts. That's how we can easily extract the data. I mean, all we have to do for this one, uh, use the script and tell the org where you want to extract the data and give the query and how many records you want. I mean, if you want the entire thing, you can do that. And potentially you may want to give some max values for each file. So that is the second thing, how to extract the data. And the main thing here with retrieving the data, the job is created, and once we will, as soon as we create the job with that query, it might take some time to run the query and get the results. That's where we are checking the status of the job. And if the once we will exit out of this loop only when we either see job complete or failed. And once we see job complete, then we can go after the results. And that's where this next curl command we are going to use. And since we are passing the number of max records for each file, so that's where we are using this query locator. So, and first time when it runs, basically we only need to say, okay, how many max records we want. And if at all we have more records, that's where Salesforce will return that locator, and we can use that locator to further query more records. So that's why we are going through this loop here, and we will pass those locators. Basically, since Salesforce is giving us back the locator, we need to extract it, and I'm using some command for that. And so these are the files. And once we get that file, I'm uploading, I'm taking that content into a temporary folder and then moving it to the data folder. That's how I'm doing this extractions. And we got those 3 extracts here. And that is one way to do those extracts. So finally, there are a few issues here and there. So let's say whenever we try to upload data into Salesforce, if it is more than 150 MB, Salesforce doesn't like it. That's where these kind of chunkings will come handy to load the data. And also the other thing that I want to mention here, if you see in here, there is this 1 million records I submitted, and it took 11:45 minutes to complete that load. So now, in order to expedite these kind of things, the way we can upload the data in smaller chunks. So now, if you see here, this is the file, that 1 million records that I already submitted, which took 11 minutes. Now, these are the individual file sample accounts. And if we load these individual files as a separate job, that will expedite the process. So now let's run that guy. So all we are saying here, we are telling the script name and what is the target arg and what is the operation and the files. So in this case, I'm trying to use this sample account accounts format, and this will take these 10 files, which are when each it has 100,000, and that will become 1 million. So now let's fire this thing. And when we fire it, this one will send those bulk jobs, bulk V2 jobs here. Yeah. So as you see here, it is submitting and it is writing those. So it submitted sample 1, sample 2, so it submitted sample 6. And now back in Salesforce, we should see some jobs running in parallel. Yeah. So here we started around 12:49 and yeah, 12:48. And so it is submitting these things. So let's see, let's go back here. So it is submitting that last 10th file. And so basically it is going to give us all these job IDs also here. And finally it said it completed all these things. Now back in Salesforce. So we see that all the jobs are submitted, the 10 jobs. And I mean, so this is the parallel processing. So basically it is taking 1, 2, 3, I mean, about 8, 9 jobs are running in parallel. And if we go inside these jobs, again, the multiple batches are processing. So that's where, I mean, we were able to submit, when we submitted one batch of 1 million, I mean, one job of 1 million, basically at that time it might be running maybe 5 batches inside. But this way, since we chunked it into 10, and now at least 50 or 60 batches are running in parallel. So that's the advantage of chunking into small. And here, when as you can see, some of them are already complete. And here everything's complete. So basically, pretty much we started the first one at 12:48, and at 12:50 it is all complete. Potentially, I mean, the net it took almost 2 minutes, whereas compared to the million records one, it took about 11 minutes. So I mean, there would be considerable uh, performance improvement if we do this way versus the batch. I mean, the bulk V2 itself is faster uh, compared it to running Apex jobs and those things, Apex by batch jobs. But again, by chunking these kind of smaller things, so we will see big time performance benefits. So that's about it. So we saw the sandbox seeding, we saw how to query data with query locators, and then we saw how to improve the DML operations, especially with bulk V2. Thank you.